Democrats have called it a cruel stunt. Republican governors Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis sending undocumented migrants from border states to cities run by Democrats. Republicans say Democrats will now see what southern communities are grappling with as border encounters reach record numbers. Democrats say might not even be legal. They want the Justice Department to step in. So joining us now, two legal experts who can help us break it down. Former Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Andrew McCarthy, and George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley, both Fox News contributors. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have both of you with us.
Good morning.
Okay, I want to start with California Governor Gavin Newsom, who is calling on the DOJ potentially to step in here. He says that people were giving false representations about where they were being going, transported, that kind of thing. What would be waiting for them? He says, I urge U.S. DOJ to investigate whether the alleged fraudulent inducement would support charges of kidnapping under relevant state laws, which could serve as a predicate offense for charges under RICO. Jonathan, you've written about this.
Yeah, it's absurd. They suggest that this can be kidnapping. There might have been confusion. There might have been misrepresentation for some. But these are consensual trips, and they have records of the consent. You have Hillary Clinton saying that this is literally human trafficking, which is legally nonsense. I mean, human trafficking is designed to prevent sexual and labor exploitation. These are people who have been released into the country by the Biden administration and have accepted trips to cities like Chicago, New York, in this case, Martha's Vineyard. They have a right to go on those trips, and the states have a right to facilitate them.
So here is what President Biden has had to say about what's happening at the federal and state level.
We have a process in place to manage migrants at the border. We're working to make sure it's safe and orderly and humane.
So, Andy, I remember the Supreme Court just a few years ago having this fight with the state of Arizona when it wanted to take on immigration policy, and it's very much the Fed's place to do it. And the president says they've got it under control. So what of these actions by these southern Republican governors?
Well, they absolutely do not have it under control. And what the governors are doing is exactly the same thing that the Democratic administration has been doing. They've actually been moving people throughout the country as well. We have a statute that says that when people come into the United States illegally, they shall be detained until their proceedings are concluded. We're ignoring that statute. The Biden administration is cutting enforcement on administration. They're cutting the budget on detention. To single this out, given the botch that they've made of immigration policy, is just staggering.
Okay, I want to turn to what's going on in Trump world, because there's plenty of legal activity there. Andy, let me start with you on this, because a slew of subpoenas going out suggesting there are still plenty of active investigations going on. What say you?
It's clear that they're ramping up investigative activity. They're looking at what they call the fake electors scheme. They're looking at tampering with the actual election equipment. There's a number of grand jury subpoenas that have gone to people who were in President Trump's main circle. But I think the immediate problem, at least from former President Trump's perspective, is the investigation of Mar-a-Lago and the seizures there. At this point, I think that's the one that's ramping up with a bullet.
Yeah, and Judge Aileen Cannon, who has denied the DOJ's request to be able to use some of these documents as they want to, absent going through first the vetting of the special master that's been appointed. She says appointment of a special master to conduct a review of the seized materials is fully consonant with the foregoing principles and with the need to ensure at least the appearance of fairness and integrity under unprecedented circumstances. Jonathan, she's taken a lot of heat. People will say this is a Trump-appointed judge. They say that she is going to get overturned on the appellate level. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting that the Department of Justice filed a motion pending appeal that didn't ask to stay the entire appointment of the special master, but instead asked only for access to about 100 classified documents. That's a smart move. In fact, I think it may be the first smart move I've seen from the Justice Department. You know, in hunting and litigation, the word is, you know, aim small, miss small. This is your best bet on those 100 documents. But the special master may be already making progress on that. He's expected to prioritize those 100 documents. There's a very good chance that they will be released or given access to the Department of Justice. It'll be interesting to see if the administration goes further to try to litigate these other thousands of documents that are going to be reviewed by this special master. I mean, the court noted that the Department of Justice itself admitted that it may have taken attorney-client material, admitted that its taint teams had made some mistakes, and so the special master is going to drill down on that, but probably after he looks at those classified documents.
So we stand by now to see what happens with the appeal. It could end up at the U.S. Supreme Court, which is the next thing I want to talk about. Justice Kagan is out there discussing those who have been criticizing the court for being too political and what happens when courts take certain actions. Here's what she said this week.
When people see them as extensions of the political process, when people see them as trying just to impose personal preferences on a society, irrespective of the law, that's when there's a problem.
Andy, what do you make of all these now very public conversations about the integrity of the courts, pushing back against decisions they've made, and whether you agree or disagree, going to the heart of what the justices are doing?
Well, I think to Justice Kagan's point, if you're going to worry about the public perception of the court, you're doing politics instead of law. And the reason that we insulate the judiciary from politics is so they can try to decide what the case is based on the law, whether that's a popular result or an unpopular result. So I think the minute that you start to take the position that the court needs to worry about the public perception of its decisions, unless what the public thinks is that the court is making the decisions because of politics rather than because of what the law says, then I think you get away from what the business of judging is. They just can't worry about public perception and what the media is going to say. They have to try to figure out what the right answer is and give it. That's why we insulate them from politics.
So the Wall Street Journal editorial board says this about Justice Kagan. Says, no doubt, she's frustrated that she isn't in the majority in many of the most significant cases. But now she knows how Antonin Scalia and Clarence Thomas felt for decades. They never attacked the legitimacy of the courts. Professor.
Well, I think that's a good point. I just spoke to the 10th Circuit Judicial Conference, and at the conference also speaking was Chief Justice Roberts and Gorsuch. And Chief Justice Roberts really took offense at these attacks on the integrity of the court. We're having a crisis of faith, but I think that's being fueled by a crisis of leadership. These attacks on the integrity of not just the court, but on your own colleagues that are implied in these remarks.
All right, Andrew McCarthy, Jonathan Turley, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.